At 30, your body could handle almost anything. You could eat poorly, sleep little, stress constantly, and bounce back. But at 50, everything changes. Your body doesn't forgive anymore. It doesn't compensate. It doesn't recover the same way. And there's one food that perfectly illustrates this shift. For decades, you probably ate it without consequences. Maybe you even thought it was healthy. Maybe it gave you energy. Maybe it was part of your daily routine. But after 50, that same food becomes dangerous. Not because the food changed, but because you changed, your body changed. And Rumi, who lived to 66 and remained mentally sharp until his final days, understood this completely. He watched people refuse to adjust their eating as they aged, and he watched them suffer for it, decline for it, die younger than they should have, all because they didn't understand one simple truth. What worked at 30 doesn't work at 50. And this food proves it. The food is sugar and refined carbohydrates, the things that turn into sugar the moment they hit your bloodstream. Bread, pasta, rice, pastries, juice, foods that your younger body processed efficiently, but your aging body can no longer handle. Here's what happens at 50. Your metabolism fundamentally shifts, not just slows down, changes. The hormones that regulated your blood sugar for decades start declining. Your cells become more resistant to insulin. Your pancreas has to work harder to produce the same effect. And every time you eat sugar or refined carbs after 50, you're putting stress on a system that's already struggling. When you were 30, your body could handle a spike in blood sugar. Your cells responded to insulin quickly. Your metabolism burned through glucose efficiently. You might have felt a temporary energy boost, followed by a small crash, but overall, your body managed. But at 50, that same spike creates chaos. Your cells don't respond as well. Your blood sugar stays elevated longer. Your pancreas releases more insulin trying to compensate. And over time, this pattern doesn't just make you tired, it ages you rapidly. Observed this in his own community. He watched people in their 50s continue eating the way they had in their 30s. Heavy meals with bread, sweet treats throughout the day, dates and honey in excess. And he noticed a pattern. The ones who kept eating this way declined faster. Their energy disappeared. Their bodies weakened. Their minds became foggy. They developed joint pain, digestive problems, sleep issues, and they blamed it all on age, on getting older, on inevitable decline. But then he watched others, people who instinctively or intentionally reduced their sugar and grain intake after 50, and these people aged differently. They maintained their energy, their mental clarity, their physical strength. They weren't superhuman. They weren't exceptionally blessed with good genetics. They just stopped eating what their body could no longer process. Because here's what sugar does to an aging body that it doesn't do to a young one. It creates persistent inflammation. When you're young, your body's anti-inflammatory response is strong. It can handle occasional spikes. But after 50, your inflammatory response becomes hypersensitive. Every blood sugar spike triggers inflammation throughout your body, in your joints, your blood vessels, your brain. And unlike when you were younger, that inflammation doesn't resolve quickly. It lingers, accumulates, becomes chronic. This chronic inflammation is what ages you. It damages your cells. It interferes with cellular repair. It accelerates the breakdown of collagen in your skin, making you look older. It damages the lining of your blood vessels, increasing your risk of heart disease. It creates oxidative stress in your brain, leading to cognitive decline. And all of this happens more intensely after 50 because your body's ability to manage inflammation has decreased. But most people don't make the connection. They eat the same breakfast they've eaten for 30 years, toast or cereal or pastries. Their blood sugar spikes, insulin floods their system, inflammation spreads, and an hour later they feel tired, foggy, irritable. And they think this is just what being over 50 feels like. They think this is aging, when really, it's breakfast. Rumi noticed something else. The people who thrived after 50 weren't just avoiding sugar, they were eating differently overall. More vegetables, more protein, more healthy fats, foods that kept their blood sugar stable, foods that didn't trigger that inflammatory response. And the difference was visible, not just in their energy levels but in how they looked, how they moved, how they thought. Your body at 50 needs completely different fuel than your body at 30. At 30 you could run on quick energy, on carbs and sugar. Your metabolism was fast enough to burn through it. Your hormones were strong enough to manage it. But at 50, your body needs steady, sustained fuel. It needs protein for muscle maintenance, which becomes critical as you naturally start losing muscle mass. It needs healthy fats for hormone production and brain function. It needs nutrients from whole foods for cellular repair. And when you continue feeding your 50-year-old body the same high-sugar, high-carb diet you ate at 30, you're essentially running a sophisticated machine on the wrong fuel. It sputters, it breaks down, it ages faster than it should. Here's what happens specifically. After 50, your muscle mass naturally starts declining. This is called and muscle is metabolically active tissue. It burns glucose. It keeps your metabolism working. But when you lose muscle and keep eating sugar, you create a dangerous cycle. Less muscle means less ability to process glucose, which means more insulin resistance, which means more fat storage, particularly around your midsection, which creates more inflammation, which accelerates aging. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't inevitable. This cycle can be broken, and the first step is removing the food that's driving it. Sugar and refined carbs. Because as long as you're spiking your blood sugar multiple times a day, as long as you're triggering that insulin response, as long as you're creating that inflammation, you can't break the cycle. You're just managing symptoms while the underlying problem gets worse. Rumi lived to 66. In his time, that was considered old age, and accounts from people who knew him in his final years describe a man who remained mentally sharp, physically active, and spiritually engaged. He wasn't declining in a corner somewhere. He was teaching, writing, walking, living fully. And while we don't have detailed records of his diet, we do know that the people around him who aged well followed certain patterns. They ate simply. They avoided excess sweetness. They prioritized whole foods. They ate less as they aged, not more, because that's another shift that happens at 50. You need fewer calories. Your metabolism has slowed. Your activity level has probably decreased. Your body composition has changed. You have less muscle-burning energy, but most people don't adjust. They keep eating the same portion sizes, the same frequency, the same foods, and their body stores what it can't use as fat, which creates more inflammation, which accelerates aging. The signs are there if you pay attention. The afternoon energy crash, the brain fog in the morning, the difficulty losing weight, even when you're eating less, the joint pain that seems to come from nowhere, the sleep problems, the mood swings. These aren't just signs of aging. They're signs that your body is struggling with the food you're giving it, particularly with sugar and refined carbs. And here's the cruel part. Sugar becomes more addictive as you age, not less. Because as your cells become more insulin resistant, you need more and more sugar to get that same temporary energy boost. You need that afternoon cookie, that morning pastry, that evening dessert, not because you're weak, but because your body has become dependent on quick glucose hits to function. And breaking that cycle after 50 is harder than it was at 30, but also more necessary. So what do? How do you adjust your eating after 50 to work with your body instead of against it? First, you eliminate or drastically reduce refined carbs and added sugars, not forever, not perfectly, but consistently. This means no more bread with every meal, no more pastries for breakfast, no more juice thinking it's healthy because it's fruit. No more rice and pasta as the base of your meals. These foods spike your blood sugar, trigger inflammation, and accelerate aging, and your 50-year-old body can't handle them anymore. Second, you build your meals around protein and vegetables. Protein becomes critical after 50 because you're fighting muscle loss. Every meal should have a significant protein source, not a side of protein, a foundation of protein. And vegetables provide the nutrients your body needs for cellular repair without the blood sugar spike. Third, you add healthy fats, olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, fatty fish. These fats support hormone production, which is declining after 50. They provide sustained energy without blood sugar crashes. They reduce inflammation instead of creating it, and they keep you satisfied so you're not constantly hungry. Fourth, you eat less frequently. At 30, you might have needed to eat every few hours to maintain energy, but at 50, your body benefits from longer periods between meals. This gives your insulin levels time to drop. It gives your body time to burn stored fat. It gives your digestive system time to rest, and it reduces the total inflammatory load on your system. And fifth, you pay attention to how you feel, not immediately after eating, but an hour later, 2 hours later, the next morning, Because your body is giving you feedback, constant feedback, about what it can handle and what it can't. But most people ignore it. They eat what they've always eaten and blame age for how they feel, when really, it's the food. Rumi talked about this in a broader context. He said your body is a guest house, and you have to treat it with respect. You have to pay attention to what it needs, what it can no longer handle, and adjust accordingly. This isn't about deprivation. It's about honoring the reality of where you are, of who you've become, of what your body needs now, not what it needed 20 years ago. The people who age well after 50 aren't the ones with the best genetics. They're the ones who adapt, who recognize that the rules have changed, who understand that their body at 50 is fundamentally different from their body at 30, and who adjust their eating, their movement, their lifestyle to match that reality. And here's what happens when you do this. When you stop eating sugar and refined carbs after 50, your energy stabilizes. You don't crash anymore. You don't need that afternoon coffee just to function. Your mental clarity improves. The fog lifts. You can think clearly again. Focus. Remember, your sleep gets better because your blood sugar isn't spiking and crashing throughout the night. Your joint pain reduces because the inflammation decreases. Your weight stabilizes or even drops because your insulin levels come down, and your body can finally access stored fat for energy. And, most importantly, you stop aging so fast. The cellular damage slows, the inflammation reduces, the systems that were struggling start recovering. You don't reverse aging completely, but you stop accelerating it. And in practical terms, that means more good years, more energetic years, more clear-thinking years, more active years, more years of living instead of just surviving. Rumi understood something that most people miss. Aging isn't just about time passing. It's about how you treat your body during that time. Two people can both turn 50, both turn 60, both turn 70, but one ages slowly, maintaining their vitality, their clarity, their joy, and the other ages rapidly, losing function, losing energy, losing themselves. And the difference isn't genetics. It's not luck. It's largely the daily decisions they make about what they eat. At 30, you could get away with anything. Your body forgave you, compensated, bounced back. But at 50, every choice matters more. Every meal either supports your aging body or stresses it. Every blood sugar spike either passes quickly or lingers, creating damage. Every inflammatory food either gets processed or accumulates, aging you faster. The choice is yours. Keep eating like you're 30 and watch your body decline faster than it needs to. Or adjust, adapt, respect where you are. Stop eating what your body can no longer handle and give yourself the chance to age well, to age slowly, to age with energy and clarity and strength. Because what worked at 30 doesn't work at 50. And the sooner you accept that, the better your next 20 or 30 or 40 years will be. Rumi lived 66 years and remained sharp until the end, not by accident, but by understanding this simple truth: your body changes, and your eating has to change with it.